Hi everyone, welcome to Sunday Nights with Faye Seidler. We're back here, Sunday night, Faye Seidler, doing our show. We won't have one next week, just because I feel everyone's probably going to be busy with the holidays and not super invested in the local news show I put together, which is fine. Enjoy the rest of your year. You should have a good year, and I'll love to see you next year. But for the last show of my year, here's what we got. The first thing I like to talk about is Under the Umbrella newsletter. That's a newsletter I put out with all the LG Plus different kind of events and services and opportunities. If you do any kind of service with the LGBTQ plus community as, let's say, a therapist, a support group, if you're part of this community, you should follow the newsletter and share it out just because it's everything across the state that's going on that I'm aware of. If you have things to let me know about, I can promote it so folks across the state are aware of everything that's going on. So please check it out. Please follow that, subscribe, and share it out. I want to highlight an event coming up, Communicating to Those with Dementia. That'll be January 6th at 1 p.m. It's going to be a virtual event that is hosted by the Dakota Center for Independent Living. I think this is a really important opportunity, not just for professionals, but also for family members who have individuals with dementia in their life. It can be an extremely difficult situation that not everyone is well equipped to deal with, either for themselves or their family member. So please share that around with anyone you think would benefit. I want to highlight the North Dakota Counseling Association Conference, which is coming up in February, has a deadline for their awards that they give to counselors and community members. December 30th is a deadline, and you can nominate counselors that you know about for the New Professional Award, Innovation Award, Glenn Dolan Award, and Friend of Counseling Award. I think it's really important to appreciate individuals, especially counselors, maybe your peers, for the work that they do. I think that appreciation and gratitude are things that actually keep us resilient in times that are very difficult, because when we put effort into appreciating other people, we feel less alone, so please take some time to do that if it is relevant to you. I want to highlight an opportunity from PFUND to be a grant reviewer. This is to my knowledge, and don't quote me as I might not have the details perfect, but I believe it is a 10-hour commitment where they give you training on how to review grants, and then you spend some time reviewing grants. It comes with a $100 stipend, and it is a great opportunity to see how grants work. If you work or want to work in nonprofit, if you want to be a grant writer, I think this is a good opportunity not just for your own professional development, but also for your resume. And if you want to get into that, it's an invaluable skill to have. If you sit down and say, I'm excited to look for, find, and write grants, nonprofits will trip over themselves to get you on board. Trust me on that. So it's a good way to get into this work if you're interested. I want to highlight an article by Chandler Essingler, who is the director of our FM Coalition to End Homelessness. In it, she talks about harm reduction and the philosophies around harm reduction being a practical response to individuals who are using substances, making sure they can find pathways to help and support. Chandler is someone who has taught me things like the social determinants of health. They have a very good mind for understanding systems and policies and outcomes. When they do this, it is not feelings oriented. It is not just this idea of we need to blindly help people. It is with the strongest backing of understanding the harm reductive problem solving solutions to difficult issues that we tackle in our communities. A point they make that's quite salient is the fact that if we really could create very punitive, uncaring systems that wouldn't, quote unquote, enable individuals, we would have seen those systems working. And time again, we default to systems that are often barbaric under the belief that if we're hard enough on someone, they'll get their act together, and that has never actually played out. When you are hard on someone, they get more disconnected from the community and from their own future, because where do they land? People need guidance and connection, and that's what harm reduction does at its base. So I think this is an invaluable piece, and I really recommend reading and sharing it. I want to highlight a new Children Advocacy Center has opened up in Williston. And I have an article talking about how important that is. According to the article, it's one of the first ones in nearly 20 years that has opened. It is only the fourth one of these to open, and they really help to interrupt and provide safety, healing, and support to some of our most vulnerable and often victimized children. For me in the state, I care deeply about our youth, especially our youth who fall through the cracks, so I find that these services are essential and amazing and important, and the people who staff them are often passionate and caring, and we want more of this work. So if you are able to support if you are able to provide support or at least share out the story and let people know about it, please do so. Oftentimes, we have to be advocates for the children in our life, and we have to be witnesses to make sure that they are safe. When children are connected to safe, trusted adults in their life, it greatly reduces the potential harm they can experience. So while child advocacy centers are essential and critical, it really depends on us across our communities and across the state to look out for the kids in our life collectively. I'm going to share an entire video that was shared by Shine Bright and Live that was thanking folks that showed up to support one of the fundraising events that they had. I am sharing this because I think it is a masterclass study in how nonprofits should be engaging with folks who support their mission. I know that the default thing we do is usually send like letters of thank you, but that doesn't really connect with people these days. You should not just be fundraising for the, get more money in the account. You should be fundraising because it also increases your mission and it creates that warm connection for people who believe in you. So never think of fundraising as transactional. Think about it as building community at the deep level. And I think this video does a wonderful job. So we're going to watch that, then come back here.
Oh, good morning. Thanks for joining me today. We just wanted to stop in from Shine Bright and Live to thank you all so much for attending the World AIDS Day event, for bringing your information tables out and helping to organize and help us to raise a little over $2,500 to provide direct care to those living with HIV in North Dakota. What a wonderful time to spend with all of you during the holidays, listening to those living with HIV sharing their stories, live music, and fellowship. We hope to see you again next year at our next World AIDS Day event, and you have a Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays.
I want to talk about the awesome foundation of Cass Clay County. This is a foundation that gives $1,000 to local community efforts that are good for the community. The one that they did for this month was to Matthew's Voice Project, which gives high-quality senior photos to our high school students who are experiencing homelessness and might not be able to afford it. I want to highlight that story because it's important in that organization because it's important, but also if you have something that is within $1,000 that could really help jumpstart some effort you have to help our local community, you can apply for them. It's a very easy grant process. It is not like the scary kind of ones. It is give them your dream and vision. If they are able to support it, they will. So I want to celebrate a multitude of reasons for this story. If you like local theater and live in Grand Forks, or if you like local theater in Grand Forks and you live somewhere else, you can support the local theater effort because they're raising funding to help assure that they are able to continue to provide local theater to their community. I tend to support theater everywhere that exists in our state because I think theater is a wonderful connection of our community to come together and just have fun, because I find local theater is such an essential heartbeat of communities. So it's an opportunity to support that locally and get your name in the little thank you thing for their patrons. There's a multitude of ways to support them, but you can check out the website and the link if you are interested. Lincoln, North Dakota has opened up the first, I believe, North Dakota Cat Cafe. This means folks can go in and enjoy what you'd normally get in a cafe with a company of 6 resident cats to jump on you and use you as a living heat pad, which is what a lot of people would probably like. So it's kind of a fun, cool story. I think it's cool. I like hanging out with cats in general. In North Dakota, homeowners are currently celebrating tax relief for 50,000 households, part of a property tax relief bill that was passed earlier this year and pushed as kind of a big nonpartisan effort to give incentives for people who are living in North Dakota. There still is not relief for renters here, but from my understanding, and it is limited, I'm just a news girl, just trying to say things to people, I think it was very clearly an effort to help North Dakotans, and other efforts would have been ones that were like flat reductions that would have really just benefited big business. The thing with North Dakota is most of the property tax that we have actually is paid for by a lot of out-of-state wealthy folks who maybe own a lot of different land or businesses here. A residential tax property is a very small percentage of that. It's still some, and it can be bigger if you are wealthier and own more. But I'm glad we did something that actually helped people living here, rather than just be a blank check for out-of-state investors to get more money from us without giving more back to our communities. For my final story tonight, I'm going to talk about Aaron in the Morning covering the Trans Youth Emergency Project. If you have not been paying attention, there has been escalating attacks from our federal government to reduce the capacity for families and youth to access medically necessary and safe gender-affirming care. The attacks are coming from the political sector, they're coming from agitators and influencers, they're not coming from our medical field. Trans care is considered medically necessary and life-saving from all of our major medical associations. We now have over 70 years of research into treating trans individuals and decades of research into treating trans youth in particular. And a lot of the stories we read on it are sensational and inflammatory. A lot of them focus specifically on detransitioners or the supposed harm, and very few center the vast majority of trans youth who receive treatment, improve their mental health, improve their quality of life, grow up being happy and thriving. There's like hours and hours of things I could say about this in particular. I do professional trainings, I've gone to conferences, I've worked in the clinical setting helping trans individuals out. I have personally experienced transitioning. I know this stuff inside and out better than pretty much anyone in North Dakota, and I am always there to answer any questions people have from an educational perspective. I'm not there to tell you there is a right answer. I'm not there to tell you that you are bad for believing what you do. I am there for you to ask questions. I will tell you my knowledge from my experiences doing all of this, and then from there you can decide what you want to do going forward. And I guarantee you a lot of the information that we see in the news, especially from the political sector, is sensational, it is misleading, it is inflammatory, and it is not the reality of trans youth or trans care. I guarantee you that. So if you want what I believe is probably a better perspective on all of this, I am there to educate anyone in North Dakota to the best of my ability about what this actually looks like. Because at the end of the day, I want all of our kids to thrive, whether they be trans or not. I want our kids to have households where they are loved and supported, whether they are trans or not. I want all kids to have hope as they grow up in this state. And that is the center I care about. And if I can do anything to help, I guess just reach out. Again, I want to talk about this for hours. But that's my show tonight, and we're moving into the new year. I think a lot of people had a tough time this year for a lot of different reasons. And a lot of us have a struggle to keep hope for continuing to exist and fight and find... I can't tell you what the state of the world is going to be in 2026, but I can tell you one thing. You will feel better about the world if you get involved in it. If you try to hide, if you try to avoid it, if you just hope it's going to get better, you are only going to feel more anxious about it. If you put yourself out there as an activist, as a volunteer, if you get politically engaged, however you feel comfortable getting involved, if you get involved, you will at least feel like you're moving somewhere and you're moving the world into a better place as opposed to waiting for the next terrible story. The best thing that I can tell you is just get active in 2026 on something. And if you need help finding where you can get active, let me know. And I don't care how you get active. It could be in ways that are against the things that I fight for. It doesn't matter. I feel the more people that are actively involved in their community, that are talking to each other, that are trying to make things better in the way that makes sense to them, means the better for our state and means the better for our future. I know that we are exhausted and we feel like nothing we do matters, but that is why it's more important than ever to do something. Because that builds the resiliency for us to keep on going and trying and believing. So for your New Year's resolution, try to sign up to volunteer somewhere. Try to get out there to do something, and I'm pretty sure that the year will feel a lot better than if you didn't. So that's what I got. Happy New Year's. Bye.